And welcome everybody to one of the best podcasts out there. You've got the boys are packed, as Dropkick Murphys would say. You got the man who's the co-creator, even though he deserves the credit for it, him and Sean. And literally, I'll say this: one of my good friends in the community always has my back, always texts me every once a month to make sure how I'm doing. Most excited people also likes to have fun with coexisting with Maggie. Tomorrow, check it out. It'll be fun. Your homie, your boy, the former co-host of In the Mix with Rob Wilkins, Rob Wilkins himself. Fightful.
What is up, my friend? It is good to be back on here.
About freaking time we did this.
I know Thursdays are usually crazy, but I made sure I had time to do this. So because it's been a long time. It's WrestleMania week. You gotta make time for the people that were with you from the start. So
I know. Literally, it's like boom, Rob's there.
Yeah.
but everybody forgets so quickly about this show that you helped create this in your own way, and that's why like you get that saying. It's true. You helped create this, and it's fun because of the fact that you said it with coexisting with you and Maggie. That by the way, that whole thing you guys did. I was at work. I was trying not to bawl my eyes out, to be honest. But I told Maggie that too, that it made me like sit back and realize a lot of things. I mean, come on. I'll agree with this. I'll give you this, and you could put it on there tomorrow. I am the NXT of the community.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the way I looked at it, because I looked at how many people have been on your show before and have gone on to do other things. I mean, and the one person that I didn't bring up, and he's done his own thing lately, is Aaron, World Order. Like, he wasn't doing stuff before he started getting on here with you, and that was like my first podcast that I was on was with you. Granted, Maggie kind of did some watch along stuff, but her first real show, like non-watch along, was with you and Drew from like an early start. I mean, it's been good. It's been fun. And
Pluggo too. He's doing stuff.
Yeah, Pluggo and
2 beers and stuff.
Yeah, and there's a lot. I'm just not really too associated with them because I'm just usually stuck with the Fightful crew. But I'm trying to branch out a little bit and do other things. I did the watch along this past Monday with SP3's crew. So that was fun. That was a good time. Romeo and stuff like that.
Yeah, one of these times we'll get you on Body Slam and have fun with that too. I think Cassidy wouldn't mind.
Yeah, Cassidy. Oh, okay. Well, Cassidy. I was supposed to do an MMA show for Cassidy on Saturdays, but with just the way things have been, that's been put on the back burner. But eventually, I'm hoping to do it. So.
Yeah, we need to get in the mix with Rob Wilkins on bodyslam.net. That'd be pretty sick if we brought that back, that old little montage.
It was fun. It was a fun show. I think the problem was I was getting burnt out with it because it was Friday nights. And Friday night, I mean, granted, the fun part about doing this are you're not trying to get the viewers. You want them, but it was just kind of like a letdown after a while, just doing it every week and not seeing like...
Yeah.
It was, and then I realized like Friday night it's like an hour before SmackDown is not good timing, and it just didn't really work out. And
you and me had a long conversation about that, like just privately through DMs and stuff, and we both agreed. But yeah, to me, and I've said this to you, and I'll say it on camera, is that the funnest times would be just sitting there talking to you about everything, MMA, anything, baseball, stuff like that. Because a lot of people think Throwback knows wrestling, but they don't know the whole picture. Like you and me talk about baseball during baseball season. We talk about all these different things. And even if we talk about wrestling today, it's not going to change the fact that we talk about other stuff too. Me and Drew, we talk about cars. There is going to be a show with cars. I can tell you that much. But it's good to have something different and different points of view on certain aspects of things,
Yeah.
And that's why, like, you as a friend too, is that you being so far, and you got to appreciate this too, is that next month will be 2 years you and me have been friends.
Yeah.
And
time flies, man.
And you also have to appreciate that within about 3 weeks of the 2-year show, it'll be 2 years since you first was on a podcast.
Wow.
So for me, it's more appreciative looking back at that stuff. And it's awesome because of the fact that it makes it more comfortable. I think I'm more comfortable with the crew, with the Crazy Crew, but I'm more comfortable with you because you've been there since day one. To quote a line from those, so day one-ish kind of
Day
thing, you know?
one-ish. Yeah.
So it's just, you got, if you want to look at the back catalog and stuff, I suggest you look at those shows with Rob that me and Rob did on the other channel. We don't use that channel as much. But also go check out the catalog for Wicked Crazy Pinfalls. There's a lot of great shows, a lot of technical issues in some of them, but a lot of fun doing
that
it.
First
And
one,
that's the best part.
Oh, that first one was hilarious because you were right. There were all kinds of issues.
Yeah. And it got better over time too. And it for me, out of all the shows, I think in videos, I think I'm over 300 videos now between just random streams, stuff like that, and everything. I think the ones other than with the crew, the ones I have more fondest of are the ones I do with you, because I know, like you and Sean Warren and stuff like that, there have been people there since day one that have pushed me forward. And now we're going into year two. Dennis Farrell, people like, Cher Delaware, Hannah Moore, Wild Boy, stuff like that. Jesse Davin, who hit me up when the car was stolen, who was great help on Twitter. And like Steven Jensen, stuff like that. The Fightful crew, but also like Love Wrestling. Everybody's pushed this through. And for me to look for new people to help everybody to look at the new eyes on there, it's perfectly fine. And I don't mind doing that because, like you said, you, Pluggo, and everybody got there for a start. Hell, Tim Trevor was doing it, same thing, I've been very fortunate to have, even though I had technical problems early on with that show, with, the internet and stuff, having Sean on, and then recently having one of the top 5 people in this community, having John Alba, who's to me is number 3 over the whole thing, who I did mark over. I'll be very blunt about that, because
he's a good guy.
He's one of those people I appreciate. I've always like watched on a lot of the stuff, because he's originally did stuff in the area and stuff. He still does stuff in this area. So it's like, it's one of those things. But for me, it's just, I'm very appreciative for what people do. And it's very honestly that more things you have done over the years. So
no problem, man. What are we going to talk about today?
We'll have some fun talking about WrestleMania and stuff. I'll give my picks. You can shoot questions like you used to within the mix. Why don't we bring the old school format for that in the mix back and mix it in with Wicked Crazy Pinfalls with Mania? Everybody's going crazy anyway, so why not? And then I want you to like talk about the tournament and talk about your experience thus far and what you think about your bracket and stuff. But WrestleMania is here. Stand and Deliver is coming up on Saturday to kick off Mania weekend, and then the main event, Mania night 1 and 2. What's Stand and Deliver for me, other than the Mania matches, Mania night 1 and 2? I think Stand and Deliver is the more intriguing, obviously, because I cover that for Body Slam for the post show. But I think more so for me, it's just to see. I've gotten to the point with wrestling where I like to see where they go from where they are. And this past Tuesday was kind of a disappointment. Now I look back at it more severely and look back at the show more analytically, that they didn't set up anything significantly serious other than that ladder match, because you can bounce different points of view for matches off of that. But after, Ziggler, Breaker win and go from there, or if Breaker goes up to the main roster after this, it doesn't set up Ziggler's next opponent other than if it's Hayes, but I don't think they should pull that trigger until SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So I mean, it doesn't make any sense. What is your outlook on Stand and Deliver right now? I'm not asking for picks, but I want the overall outlook for you to think on it right now.
I think what intrigues me about the Stand and Deliver is we're finally getting an NXT crowd, like outside of Orlando. We're getting the diehard fans. Like, now, granted, a lot of those diehard fans have somewhat left because of a lot of their favorites have left. Like Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Andrade, stuff like. Well, Andrade's been gone, but I mean, just if you think about it, a lot of the guys that we saw on NXT before the show went off because of the pandemic, it's been different. And this is going to be the first time that we get to see the NXT crowd that we remember, and there's still people that enjoy it. NXT. I mean, the ratings are good enough, for WWE or for USA and WWE. I know a lot of people did not care for the product, but it's gotten a lot better than when it first started. And I think a lot of people have a hard time with change. And I think that was a big part of it because WWE, they change a lot. And we didn't like how a lot of people got let go from their job. We didn't like that. Nobody liked that. So there was a lot of resentment towards the NXT 2.0 when it started. But we're starting to see stars come out of it. I mean, they got two guys, Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes, that there's no stopping them. And then there's other guys that I see potential in. I see potential in Grayson Waller, even though he annoys the hell out of me. He's doing his job. That shows you he's doing his job. That's like I tell people about Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin's a hell of a wrestler. And the reason you don't like him is because you're not supposed to like him. He does that good of a job. And that's why I never talk negative about wrestlers, because they're awesome. They're doing what I can't do, and they entertain the hell out of me. So, and I think that what Ed here says, I think what also helps is it's going to be a long day of wrestling. Mm-hmm. And I actually like it. I know a lot of people don't, but you're going to get that NXT crowd at American Airlines Arena, I believe. I think that's where the show is. They're going to be a good crowd. Then you got Mania. You don't know what's going to happen at Mania, so and then you have the other stuff. I mean, Bloodsport was on earlier today. Joey Janela's Spring Break #1 is on, or Part 1 is on, I think, right now. And then there's two other GCW events, I think, this evening, or maybe one more. And then you got Ring of Honor Supercard tomorrow, which is basically an AEW produced show. I mean, if you look at it that way, it's not an AEW show, but there's going to be a lot of AEW talent. And the way Tony Khan made it sound is it's going to be the last time you see Ring of Honor or AEW participating in WrestleMania weekends, because it's something that he didn't want to do. I mean, we all know they like to take shots and stuff, but it's one of those things where they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. I believe them. Now, WWE, a lot of people are saying, well, WWE is doing your show like on September 4th, the same day that they have Double or Nothing scheduled. Well, that's true, but WWE is doing that show in the United Kingdom. So the time difference, WWE is not competing with Double or Nothing that day. Now, if anything, they could be competing with them if you look at it from the money perspective, because somebody might watch that 3-hour WWE show and say, you know what, I've watched enough wrestling for today. But that's the thing. The diehard fans of AEW already buy the pay-per-view. They're going to watch it, so AEW is not losing out with WWE participating in that weekend, and it is what it is. But this whole weekend is going to be great. I have a feeling. And we got our guy Sean Ross Sapp participating in Spring Break, Joey Janela Spring Break Night 2, Part 2 rather, tomorrow night. So that'll be good, and can't wait to see what he does, because it's not going to be good. I already and I'm not. Well, I don't want to give a hint, but tomorrow's opening just get ready for my opening for my show.
Oh God, Rob, what have you got done?
I can't say much, but it's going to be worth it, I think. I'll just say this: I showed it to Sean, and he laughed. So
anything you do always is a good thing, and and a lot of people don't know this, and I'll say this: Rob was the person that helped me with the first thumbnail for this show. So, I mean, anything Rob does is always good when he does all the stuff. I mean, the photos you do on Twitter, a lot of them, I start laughing. I can't keep my phone in my hand when I look at them.
Sometimes, like, I've realized over time that sometimes my humor is not the same as people I work with. And that's pretty much what I do. I try to get them to laugh more than regular people, because it's just part of the fun. Like, and it's just one of those things. Like, lately, without naming names or anything, there's been a lot of, like, what's the right word here? A lot of
There's
verbal,
been a lot of negative things happening
a lot of negative
on Twitter and everything
attacks
in life
on people. And I hate to say it because I don't want to, but I went on a blocking spree. Like, my thing is you're supposed to have fun with it, wrestling. You don't need to see negative stuff unless you want to. If you want to see that negative stuff, go ahead. But Twitter gives you the option to block that crap, so I do. So that's just the way it is. But wrestling should be fun. Talking about wrestling should be fun, and that's what I do with the photoshops. I just do it for fun. I don't do them to make anybody look bad, except for maybe one person who I won't name. But I haven't released any of those because it's better not to talk about that person. And so,
like, the whole thing that you told me and we've talked about is sometimes it's the best way to take the high road than sink down to the lowest ends of the.
Absolutely, that's the way I feel.
But I just wanted to say this is that hopefully one day, like when I'm on leave, that I can pop in with you and Maggie and stuff and just sit and talk about wrestling one day. But for me, this weekend, Stand and Deliver with the whole Mania is going to be awesome. There's so much to consume. I think it reminds me of the Japan shows, the New Japan shows they do early in the year in January, right
Wrestle
after
Kingdom.
the New Year. Yeah. I think with if you take the time frame out of the question, it literally is. It's like you're consuming 2 nights, basically 3 shows in 2 nights, and it's always awesome because it gives you an option. So, like, especially with the gap in between, if I want to watch Stand and Deliver, I can watch that, and then I can watch night 1 on Sunday before Wrestling Mania Night 2 starts. Like, even though if you don't catch one, you can catch the other and catch up on the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's especially with all the work I'm going to be doing with the tournament and stuff and all that, it's going to be a lot of fun because it's going to make a lot of people happy. I think Stand and Deliver's got a really good card. I think I've already given my predictions with on bodyslam.net on the NXT post show. I think that Ziggler for me is, like he says, it's reinventing his career being in NXT right now for a little bit, even though he's still main roster talent. I think it's giving people, the casual fan, more eyes on Ziggler who don't know him from the old school. There's people who know him. I mean, you can't help but know who Dolph Ziggler is. But I think it gives the person who's like a good example, like you me have said one time is long time ago. It's going to take that one person that loves wrestling and then their friend who has no clue about it, but can see Ziggler as a champion and not know Ziggler's past and then latch on to it because of the fact that the passion of their friend. And it's going to do that because Ziggler is that main roster talent that they can fluctuate between, like what Kevin Owens did, bringing NXT title back and forth between it until he's permanently on the main roster. But I really think this is making Ziggler's life a lot better and a lot interesting as him having like a main card title on one of their brands. And even though it's kind of a development that people think NXT is developmental, it's really not when you watch how good of wrestling it can be. So I mean, him being there is great for all the upcoming talent too.
I do agree to a point with that comment. That is not developmental. It is developmental because we're seeing that a lot of wrestlers are still learning things from the WWE way. I mean, there's been instances, and granted, Ridge Holland has been wrestling for a while, but there's been like with what happened with Big E. That wasn't it was a fluke with how he broke his neck, but there's just a lot of things that they need to try to fix in NXT. Like even Randy Orton made a comment today that I believe it was today in the interview. He made a comment that a lot of some of them have been reckless, and it's not like with intent, but it's just he says they're not training that in NXT down there, and from that perspective, I think he makes sense.
I hate to say this, but it's a true catchphrase. It's a teachable moment. As much as Big E being hurt, it sucks because you never want anybody being hurt. But showing the people who are not doing the right thing, it gives, as much as it hurts, it gave an injury to Big E. It makes everybody around them realize and learn from that mistake and get a lot better.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't progress and make other people better, it makes the product suffer. It's like, anything you do in life, if you don't want to better yourself, where are you going to stand from it?
Yeah. And like what Randy Orton said today, this was his quote on Pat McAfee's show. He talked about the number one priority above all else is protecting your opponent. He said that's not taught necessarily in NXT. I know that because I've been in the ring with the guys that came up from NXT and they don't know what the F they're doing. It's unfortunate. That is something that needs to be fixed right away. And if that's Randy Orton saying it, that means he's not saying it to get heat from anybody. That's the truth. If people aren't knowing what the hell they're doing, they don't need to be in a WWE ring, let alone be in an NXT ring. My thing is you don't put them in until they're ready. It's that simple.
Yeah, and you got to make sure they're completely ready to make sure, because they have people's lives in their hands. It's not like, it's not like where you're going to end up doing every single move correctly. What if Seth Rollins hit a stomp on, Edge, and it was right where the fusions were, then snapped his neck? We would be talking about, anything. Edge being injured, Edge being paralyzed, and it could be a number of things.
Yeah.
It's just you have to maintain the safety. Now, we could ask questions about wrestling to people who do it. Like Chris Parrish wrestles, and the franchise Bad Blood is multiple champion, mind you. But I think what's important is that people grasp the idea that how people are putting their bodies on the line, and the misconception of it is that people think that wrestling is fake, that they really don't hurt each other. No, they really hurt each other. And I refer people to the Sid Vicious video of him blowing his knee and the bone coming straight out of the skin.
Yeah,
that's real. It's not fake.
No. That was brutal.
It made 1 million people puke just because if you're queasy on that stuff. So we'll get more into Mania and stuff when you shoot me about the whole thing. Did you watch Stephen A's interview with Paul Levesque, aka Triple H?
Yeah.
At all?
Yeah.
Okay. What I thought was more interesting and telling about that is how, how Triple H will bring up when he's on ESPN and stuff like that, he'll talk about WWE, NXT and stuff like that. This was like a different view of his character. Like, I've always liked the person in the character, because I think that there's kind of a connection with him because of the passion and of the business he has compared and how much he loves. There's very few people who say they love doing what they do. And he seemed like he was one of them in the backstage and stuff like that. And when you saw videos of him talking about NXT and stuff like that, I can see all of that. But it's interesting to see him cut the veil about what happens at home, because a lot of people are very private. You don't hear any bad things happening with, Stephanie and Paul in their homes, like anybody getting arrested or something like that. You don't hear any bad things about them. They're very private. And it's interesting to see him peel that veil back. Like, he'll talk about his friends, like what he said about Scott Hall on Twitter about how he lost a brother and stuff. But he'll pull that stuff back, but it's not on camera in depth about everything. And what got me sit back and realize is that how good of a person he is to actually pull this back out and say, hey, I can't do this. I can't, do it for health reasons and stuff, and pointed out about his daughters and stuff.
Yeah.
In Stephanie. And it's just, you appreciate the man more than the persona when something else like that happens.
Absolutely. That's the thing. Like, his life is more important than one more wrestling match. He has 3 daughters at home, 3 girls that need a father. He's married. He has a great life. Like, as far as being comfortable, he has money. He has enough money. He can do whatever he wants. He's, for the most part, I would think, because he has so much money. And I know money doesn't buy happiness, but it helps. But that's the thing. Like, he's more important than a wrestling match, and it sucks that he doesn't get that one more match. But I would rather have Triple H go home to his daughters than taking that chance. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not worth it. It sucks that we don't get to see one more. But the way I look at it, he's still around, and that's more important to me.
I think having the people that matter around you are more important, speaking from experience. I know a few others in the community would. It's just interesting that his oldest wants to be like Vince, which I took it as like something like, oh, I don't want to do what my parents do. But a lot of people think that his kids are going to follow in him and Stephanie's path, which would make sense. It's a family business, and they see mom and dad do it, but they probably are now old enough to watch some of the stuff he did in ring. Yeah. So I think that might be one of those things he's like trying to deter, but you see a lot of families who do it. He, like, until Mick Foley did it to Noelle, he literally was saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
Yeah.
She tried it and it didn't work. But I could still see him in a role where he's still in doing what he does in WWE, but I think he will do more of the teaching aspect in NXT. I think he'll do like what, some of his buddies would do, like, Mark Calloway, who is getting inducted in the Hall of Fame as The Undertaker. It goes down there and teaches people and stuff like that. But I don't think he'll be in the ring. I think he'll be standing out and saying, hey, you need to think of the mental aspects of it and teach that stuff in a classroom or something like that to keep his hands still fresh in NXT.
Yeah.
So and the thing is that it makes more sense to me that he does that stuff. It furthers along what he knows. Like, everybody has to understand, he's the smartest dude in the room when it comes to wrestling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure.
So, what are some of the matches you're looking forward to at Mania?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to AJ versus Edge. That's something I've been wanting since Edge came back. I'm really excited to see what is going on with Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. I think everybody is, obviously, with that one. The Brock and Roman has been a really good setup. I'm really intrigued with the Becky and Bianca setup. Charlotte, Ronda, not as much, because I don't think the setup's been really good for that. And it's not on Charlotte Flair; it's on Ronda. She just looks miserable when she's out there, and so I do think Pat McAfee and God, what's his name? Damn it, I forgot his name. What's the guy's name?
Austin Theory.
Yeah, thank you. Austin Theory is going to be really good. I think that one could be really good. That's the thing. There's not. If I could only pick one match to watch, it's going to be AJ versus Edge. You know, if like somebody said you can only watch one match, that would be my number one. My number two, it's really hard to say because I'm intrigued. The one thing that I do not like, and everybody else has said this already, is I don't like the fact that the Intercontinental title is not on the card, and I don't like that the United States title is not on the card. That those should be on there. With all due respect to Miz, Rey Mysterio, Jake Paul, and Dominic, I would rather see an Intercontinental title match. I just would. But I get it. People will tune in because of Jake Paul, just based off his social media following. It makes sense from a business perspective, but WrestleMania is for the people, you know, like Vince created it for people. I mean, now it's changed. The whole business aspect has changed because it's just really hard to say. I just know I'm looking forward to it because I like the Royal Rumble. There's two events that I look forward to every year in the WWE, and that's Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Now, don't get me wrong. I still love the SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Money in the Bank. I enjoy watching every WWE pay-per-view, but I get excited for WrestleMania and Royal Rumble just like I do for Double or Nothing or All Out, and even Wrestle Kingdom. We were talking about Wrestle Kingdom earlier. This year's Wrestle Kingdom was brutal because that Friday night you had SmackDown, then you had AEW Rampage, and then about 3-4 hours later you had New Japan that went on from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. I think, and I stayed up doing the watch along for that. I enjoyed it, but I regret it. My God, I was hurting, just not getting any sleep and stuff like that. And but I love it. I mean, we do this because we love it. I mean, we watch it because we love it. We write about it. We do podcasts about it because we love this business.
And it's something fun to enjoy. I mean, it's like a good example. It's like if you and me talked about anime for like hours and hours in our perspective about the art and the styles and the different, it's something we love to do. And wrestling is one of those things that we love to talk about. Not just that, but everything else. But I think it's important because for me, you were talking about nights that are important. I think for me, growing up, it was Survivor Series was the main one because it showed you back then, not the way it is now with this whole brand split BS kind of thing that's going on right now that might end. But before that, it showed which group was a lot more stronger, you know, which was not balanced and stuff. And that for me as a kid growing up was the big thing. But now as I'm older, WrestleMania is not, and everybody's gonna be like, wow, about this, is that it's not one of those major, you know, things for me. I think the Rumble is one for me. That's A1. I think the second one is pretty much Money in the Bank now, because way they're shaping Money Bank is like a midterm kind of thing. It's like when you're going into school and you have different quarters of school and stuff in the midterm right there. And Money in the Bank for me is like dab in between Mania sometimes and in between, you know, SummerSlam. So it just, it makes to see which way they're going. Like I said, I'm getting older. I want to see where matches go, how the story progresses and stuff. And that catches my eye more so of like, wow, this person did everything. If there was an amazing match on it, like I expect the same thing as you with Mania. I think Edge and AJ Styles, if you take Owens out of the equation with Austin, I think that should have been the main event for night one.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just, other than that, the rest of this card is subject, as the saying goes, it is subject to change. You shouldn't have both of your women's championships, your quote unquote Royal Rumble winner on going against your other women's title. You should have them, be right in the main event thick of things, not halfway down in the middle of the card. Ronda and Charlotte should be the second to last match on that card, and have Becky and Bianca be in the same spot with Brock and Roman, because that way it's a good way to lean into it. They don't see it like that. It's not. If we were fantasy booking, that would make sense though.
But yeah, and I think it's different this year because of Stone Cold. That's what I think, and I think next year it could be different. I heard, and I wish I could remember who said this. I think it was Ariel Helwani last night. I was watching the interview that he had with John Pollock of PostWrestling.com, and he asked John about, like, do you think it's possible that after Roman beats Brock Lesnar, like he's celebrating, and then all of a sudden you just hear, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? And then you get that whole 1 year build like he had with Cena. That would be, like, that is something I want to see. But I think this year is different because they got Stone Cold. I know there's been a lot of confusion about night one's main event because Ronda Rousey says she's going to main event. Charlotte's mentioned that she's going to main event. They've said that this is going to main event, so it's a little confusing. I think it's one of those things that they should do in the middle type thing. But the thing is Stone Cold's going to get that reaction, and you don't want the next match to be like dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the crowd gets into it. If you think back about it, like, and they even mentioned this last night in that same interview, Hogan versus The Rock from WrestleMania 18, I think. That was the second to last match. The main event was Chris Jericho versus Triple H. The crowd was dead. They were tired because that match, Hogan Rock, was up there with Hogan versus Warrior. It was just, people were pumped, and yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be a good weekend. And that's really the gist of it. I'm anxious for it, and just like everybody else, and we'll have to see. The thing is I'm expecting WWE to put on a good show. I know some people don't necessarily think that's going to happen because WWE has let them down time and time again. But my perspective has changed a lot since I've been covering this business more. I get that WWE does not focus on guys our age, even though that demographic's important. They're gearing their product. They want the kids to watch. That's what they want. They want the 8 to 15-year-old to watch their product. They're more family oriented. That's who they want. They want to get the family of 4 to one of their shows. That's the big deal. That's what AEW would like, that obviously, but they know that they're going to get the single or young couples, single men, young couples, female demographic, and it's working for them right now. They're gonna make a ton of money soon because 2023 they'll probably start negotiating for a new TV contract with TNT, and if they want to leave TNT, they could do that. WWE is going to be doing the same thing. They're going to be looking for possibly a new TV home. Possibly, I'm not saying they will, but their contract with NBC, I believe, is up. So we'll have to see. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities.
There's a lot of moving pieces, basically, with everything going on and stuff. I think what will happen with those contracts, I agree with you. I think AEW will kind of do what WWE did. They have USA, some of the stuff on USA, but then they'll like find a bigger fish in the pond, so to speak. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they make a deal with Disney to do something with ABC on a certain night or something like that, you know. I still remember growing up as a kid, you used to watch Sunday, you used to watch, you know, wrestling first thing, like main event used to be something on a Saturday morning, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, Superstars and Action Zone and all that stuff. Yeah. And I'm honestly surprised they haven't gone back to that stuff lately. It doesn't cost much to make those, and WWE can just put them on, and it's like not much money, and they're still making profit. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, you can't tell me at noon, at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning what the last time I watched USA Network. You know what I mean? So you could put a show on it.
TV much anymore. I got rid of cable now because of it's a lot cheaper to do.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, like from a hypothetical standpoint, it could. I don't see why they don't just throw another show on, like, for kids, and like Action Zone, Superstars back in the day, the shows that we used to watch. I'm actually baffled that we don't see a Saturday night show like TBS used to do, the 2 hours on the Superstation. I really thought Rampage should have been that. I thought Rampage should have been a 2-hour show on Saturday nights, is what I thought they should have done. Yeah,
I mean, Sunday Night Heat. There's other than a pay-per-view, there's nothing on Sundays for wrestling.
Yeah.
That other than like major pay-per-views and stuff. It's like, okay, well, you have an opportunity. There's certain things you can do to fill the gaps and stuff, and it doesn't feel like they're doing that, and they're all into competing against each other, which could be good. Competition is great, but you don't want to push it too much where it's just going to debilitate your product. Look what happened with WWE and NXT. It was on Wednesday nights and quote unquote the Wednesday night wars and all that stuff, and AEW came out and they run the ball and took it. It's just the whole notion of family friendly entertainment. Like at WWE, like you said, wants the 18 to 15 because eventually that 18 to 15 turns into
18 to 50. Yeah.
It turns into the 18, and higher. But it makes more sense to
sorry, I misunderstood what you said. I got you now. Sorry.
Yeah, the younger group for the family friendly stuff goes into the teenagers to where they eventually will stay with that, because it's like you being from Minnesota, you're a Twins fan. You've been ingrained to be a Twins fan in the sense that you're a kid. So, you know, basically as a sports fan overall as a kid. So any team that you think interested you follow that team from a young age all the way up. Like me, Red Sox. Ingrained it when I was a little kid, and I still watch Red Sox baseball. I read about it if I can. You know, it's those things. You know, I'm wearing a Sox hat right now as we speak.
Yeah.
It's just that stuff is important, and I think they're misconstruing the idea of focusing on one group and then another and not focusing in between. And I think that's where, going back to NXT, they think, well, we can bring Tuesday nights into that old school mold where you can get that 18 to 45. And obviously the numbers are kind of there, but they're not pulling it out. The only show right now that's pulling out numbers like crazy in these ratings, as much as WWE say they don't care, these networks do, is 2 million every Friday night coming out from Fox.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So now I figured we done talk about wrestling. We've got about 15 minutes and stuff like that and everything. So you used to talk about in the mix about certain things. So and I'll take some of your stuff. It's a compliment. What are some things you were watching, my friend?
Oh, lately, man, I went on a straight like um I went straight on a drug cartel phase with TV watching. I went from watching I binged Ozark, and then I went to Narcos and binged that, and then I went to Narcos Mexico and binged that, and then I started Breaking Bad again, and I just finished that recently, and now I'm watching Succession on HBO. HBO show. It's really good. It's basically it's a show. Um, I mean, to be honest, it's a show about like Rupert Murdoch for the most part, but there's a lot of tendencies where you can see a lot of Vince McMahon in this like character with Brian Cox, who plays the main character. Um, I mean, I see some of the similarities basically um, from what we know about Vince. Those are two things I'm watching, and then I was planning. I mean, honestly, I was planning on going to see that Morbius movie tonight, but the review, and I don't usually listen to reviews, but the reviews have been just awful on it, and I was already kind of like questioning it. So I'm kind of like, I might have to wait until like it hits like the cheap theater near me or something. I mean, I'll still see it because I like comic book movies, and I always look at it that nothing's going to be worse than Ghost Rider 2. So,
oh, no, no, Ghost Rider 2 is decent. The worst one for comic movie for me, at least, was Fantastic Four 2.
See, I don't think it. Are you talking about the Rise of the Silver Surfer, or are you talking about the one?
I'm talking about the last one.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't good, but I still think Ghost Rider 2 was brutal.
Okay, let's just say this much: that was Dragon Ball Evolution bad.
See, I don't watch anime, so I don't know.
No, that was a live action version.
Well, I'm just saying, I just don't know it. So,
for me, more so, what my girlfriend's been watching Good Girls a lot, and it's really good. A lot of times, I'll sit there while we're watching it, and I just doze off. But we basically have been watching Bel Air like every single episode, and it's so good. Oh my god, they make Uncle Phil, the nicest guy on the original show, a gangster, like literally a badass gangster, and they make Jeffrey the same way too. It is so different, and it's so interesting to watch it. And I'm praying for a second season. We ended up watching Inventing Anna, the whole series, and that was really good. I've been watching, obviously being an anime head, I've been watching some anime here and there. I've been finding my buddy's been like introducing me to certain things and stuff. He's like, he told me he finished all One Piece series. It's, I was watching when you were doing your show. I was watching Hunter x Hunter. I finished that. I've been finding certain things because I'm starting to get older, and like I said, but I'm also liking more different art styles now. If that makes any sense, it makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
Your opponent just popped in, so right.
Hey, I haven't watched it. I do want to see that show. I love John Goodman, so I know it'll be good.
I'm curious how Halo is because
I haven't watched that yet.
Plus.
See, my thing is, I like to wait till the season's over because I like to binge watch. So, like Moon Knight, I want to watch Moon Knight, but I'm gonna wait because I like to binge watch. The next show I know that I'm watching is gonna be Boba Fett. So that'll be next. And then after that, maybe I'll start Righteous Gemstones because that does intrigue me because I do love John Goodman, and it has a great cast. Walton Goggins, I'm got Kenny Powers, Danny McBride. He's good. It looks really good.
I think for me, the one show that I'm ecstatic, even if it's just a 6-series show and that's it, is the Obi-Wan one. That is like growing up as a Star Wars fan with my mom, that was like the what happened in between kind of thing with Obi-Wan. You always wanted to know what happened and stuff. And it's interesting. And you got Hayden Christensen returning as Darth Vader. And it's just that's the one coming up. And then, there's Miss Marvel looks good. That's what I'm looking forward to. I've been watching, as cheesy as this sounds, a lot of Pokemon show like on Netflix. They have the Master's Journey, and they release it in parts. I've been watching that. I'm thinking about, for anime wise, going back and rewatching Sword Art Online just to, and just because they released a movie on it, just to get back into it, just to reintroduce myself into it.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's so much good stuff. Like I'll look right now. There's the documentary about the Wu-Tang Clan that's on Showtime now, because with Paramount Plus you can get Showtime with that. And for me, it's just right now with the last episodes. I think tonight, the season ending for Bel Air. I'm curious to see where that goes and how it pivots from there. But I mean, it's so good and so much fun. And on top of that, we have WrestleMania weekend, so that's also part of this whole watching stuff. There's so much good content that you can make that it's endless. Like I bought an Xbox Series X. I maybe have touched it like maybe 4 or 5 times. It gets used, and everything. It's just I'm so into watching all this stuff with my girlfriend now, and I still want to play video games and stuff. I did pre-order. I don't know if you know this. There is a sequel coming out to Wii Sports. It's going to be Nintendo Switch Sports, and it has the bowling in it. I am going to stream that because to me was like the real reason why. Because you had your friends talk about Wii bowling, and you wanted to beat them in that just to prove you were better than them. So for me, I want to be able to do that. But it's just, I'm looking at other things to watch. I'll check out the Righteous Gemstones eventually, but I can't wait to watch the one show I watch every Friday in the afternoon. It's your show, and that's very honestly, I've watched every single one of them, and you and Maggie do a great job, and not putting over. I'm saying I'm being very blunt and honest, and
Thank you.
It's just it's something that gets me through part of the day. And right when you guys go on, if there's a car or anything, if I'm doing anything, but if I'm talking to my girlfriend on the phone or something like that, I'll put it on and I'll listen to you guys in the background and stuff like that, because I'll be typing a paperwork, and I don't want to hear people talking. I just want to hear something I'm into, and it's pretty much every Friday on the dot. I'll be sitting in the background listening and stuff. But for upcoming shows, the Obi-Wan's the one that because you touched Boba Fett, is the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I love Star Wars stuff, and yeah, and I appreciate the compliment on coexisting. It's a fun show to do, man. I look forward to it every week. It's probably my favorite day of the week. Maggie and I have really good chemistry when it comes to that that TV show. That show, our biggest goal is my goal is to make her laugh, and I usually do. And her goal is to try to make me laugh, and she usually does, or she says something really shocking or something like that. And we have a blast. It's a good 1 hour show, and there's basically the way I pitched it to Sean at the beginning is I go, I want to do a show, and I know that for it to work, it needs to be somebody that can make it good. And I go, I've talked to Maggie. I talked her into it. It took me a while to get Maggie to do it. I asked her in October, like early October, if she wanted to do it. She was hesitant. And then in December, late November, early December, she got back to me and said, let's do it. So she was able to do it because that was the person I wanted. I'm like, that's the person I want. If I'm going to do a show on Fightful, like to start off, that's who I want, and I want to do more things with Fightful. You know, there's Joel has about 64 shows on there right now. Steven Jensen has a few shows. Jeremy has a few shows. I want to do another one. Drew has a show on there. So with Joel, one of the 36 that Joel has, or 64 that Joel has, I like giving him a hard time. And congrats to him, by the way. Joel Pearl, him and his wife just had their baby. So congratulations to him on that. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They did not name it after me, which is a shame, but I get it. So,
well, I hear a good name named Brody sounds really good. Just good for a kid. So, but it's going to be interesting because, like, with all the stuff you've been doing with Fightful, I've even said it to certain people. I'm very proud of what you and Maggie and Drew and Anakin. Anakin does the watch alongs on Fightful here and there too. Pluggo and stuff like that. And like I said in the beginning of the show, if I have to be the developmental of it, if someone like say Sean approached me, Cassidy, Spencer, and they say, hey, we needed somebody to develop talent, and have them get more comfortable being on, get repetition, so that way we can plan something for them. I'd be down to do it. I'm a very patient person, like, and stuff like that. I don't mind helping people along and getting more comfortable and stuff like that. And I think it helps. But also, it's just you have to see who's out there that can do it and do it good.
Yeah.
And all of you guys have done, I'm very proud of you. And that's in the sense, I might get upset because I don't get time to spend with you guys like I used to, and that's very blunt, but I enjoy watching everybody's success because it makes me, on those dark days where I feel like at the end of it, and all of this is not worth it anymore at times, and other like you, Amanda, and a few other people pull me up, Drew for a while did, and say, you got to keep going, it's working. You just don't see the journey, you see the short end of the journey.
Yeah, you see what's blocking you.
Yeah, and
I have that same issue, man. I do. I think we all do. The thing is you just have to overcome it and just do it. Like that was the thing with me trying to get a show on Fightful. One day I just said, why the hell am I waiting for Fightful to ask me? I'm going to go ask Fightful. Like I asked Sean, I'm like, let me get a show. So I started doing reviews. I just started doing things to get on there. And I did the WrestleMania prediction show with them this week, preview show. I'm doing more things all the time. And it's fun. Like, I'm talking about the one thing that it was something I absolutely love, and that's wrestling. I love it.
Hell, I'll even say this here. I'm going on leave for a little while in August. I would love to see you take this format and this is like I said, I'm giving you compliments. Yeah. Everybody's like, oh, he's putting Rob. I don't have to put this man over. Rob's freaking big in himself. Rob's done a lot in this community, a lot more than I have, than people think I have. But I would love to see one day Wicked Crazy Pinfalls just for one day only. And if Sean's watching this at some point, and I'll pitch this, I would absolutely love to do a round table with you, Sean, and me, and post that picture of me in the jersey and just laugh about all that stuff with that Bengals jersey.
Yeah.
But I would love just to sit there and talk about like the psychological aspects of doing all this, and how it affects people's mentality at times. And I understand that that's basically borderline what Spencer Love did with Behind the Mind, but I want to talk the in-depth aspects of it. And I would love to see at least one time in this whole time of this show, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, one time only, to have Wicked Crazy Pinfalls for a one-off, kind of like the ECW one's night only kind of aspect of having this show with you and you being the co-host and somebody else just for one night only to make that a pinnacle of it, making it very special. And if it had to be that one person, it would be probably as hard as he's the hardest working guy in this whole community. It would probably be fitting to have the other person out of the four to push me to do this, and that would be Sean.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's a dream. It's a great dream. Just like I had the dream of the round table with, him and Denise and stuff. Realistically, I know that's never going to happen. It's a good dream. Not going to happen. But I feel that, if I had to pick somebody of the five that I see as the Mount Rushmore of the community, I think Luke Owen would be one of the 5 or 6 people that I would love to have a conversation with, and it's just amazing to see how everything's changed.
Yeah, and Drew makes a good point. I don't know if you see the last 2 or his last message on there, like in the chat, but
yeah,
he hits it right on the head for you. We do have our ups and downs, and we're like I'm taking his words now because he wrote them, but we are thankful that we're friends and just we keep going. That's the thing that you have to do. You just have to keep going. It's
hell, you and me have talked about me going to Minnesota, me going, you coming here. Same with Drew. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when and how and financially if we can. And it's like, but seeing everybody else do all that stuff is great. But I really have like one simple dream, and that would be Wicked Crazy Pinfalls having its own entity. It's kind of like an AJ deal where it's like I would love to have the rights and everything to this, but I would love to have it on a one-off on Love Wrestling for one day. A one-off. I could probably talk to Cass, and I think he would probably be okay with it. Maybe do one show off with the Body Slam crew, or something with Fightful as a one-off, because a lot of people don't get that. This show might have had a lot of help from Fightful. I'll give that, and I appreciate everything that Fightful has done for me, everything that has helped me with. I mean, we hit 100 subscribers within about less than 4 months, and
it's hard to do that. Yeah,
and it's very hard to do that. But I had people attacking me saying, "Oh, you have a machine behind you. You're paying that." And it's not like that. We have 235 right now. We've been stuck at 235 since the 1 year episode, and I'm fine with it. If it stays at 235, I'm fine with it. If I get another 2 subscribers on Twitch, I'm fine with it. If I don't do this for a week, like I said to your co-host Maggie, I'm gonna switch it and do Wednesday mornings here and there, just so that way there's content for somebody who just like watches it and just flips it on for a couple hours. If I have time on a Wednesday and I feel like, hey, why don't I just talk wrestling? I'd hit you up or hit somebody up and say, hey, you free for about an hour? We could talk about whatever. It's just. I just this whole dream about this show, and Drew gave me a suggestion about a co-host, and I am going to be looking for one. It would be great just to have a one-off show with Wicked Crazy Pinfalls underneath somebody's umbrella just for one time only. Like I joked with Jeremy about this, saying one time that I would have loved been on The Distraction, and the one time I was the New Year's Eve show that they did with him and Pearl, just to pop in and stuff, and that was the only time I was ever on The Distraction, and it meant a lot more than they will know. And Jeremy is like an amazing person, so I would love to have some format and stuff. And Sean, if you're watching while you're out there for WrestleMania weekend killing time, dude, that's my pitch. One night only. Wicked Crazy Pinfalls on Fightful. One night only. It could be Fightful Overbook, it could be Fightful, one time only. That's it. Because then, for me personally, it doesn't, what I've done in this community, it doesn't validate everything, obviously, because what you have done, Maggie, Pluggo, Anakin, everybody, I'll even go further, Wild Boy, Hannah, and stuff like that, have validated everything for me. Because even though everybody has their own successes and stuff, the main people that have been in the trenches with me since the start and have still been in there, like Ray and stuff like that, and Dennis and everything, are still, I appreciate all that stuff. It's just, I want to be able to have people have more fun than anything,
Yeah.
So
I agree.
So before we end up, because we've gone over an hour and 6 minutes, because usually you and me can talk for about 2-3 hours about everything. And we'll hopefully, when everything lines up, maybe on a Wednesday morning, maybe we could just line up and talk sports for a couple hours on here or something like that for fun, because the NFL draft is coming up soon too. So it'd be great to talk about that separately.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on your bracket for your tournament?
I don't know, man. I always think I'm right, and when I make these predictions, and usually I'm not. So it'll be fun. It'll be
I'm
good.
just gonna say, with your bracket with Drew, Dennis, and Maggie, it's one of those ones where you guys, all four of you, said, I want to face Rob, I want to face Drew, I want to face Maggie. And the whole time I'm sitting there and I'm like, and I got yelled at by Maggie saying, you're making me go against my co-host and all this stuff. I'm like, you got to remember, when the tournament started, you asked for this.
Yeah.
It's like, one of those things. It's like, be careful with what you wish for. You just might get it. And now everybody's like, crap. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So no, it'll be fun. It'll be good. I on paper, I think I'll win, and then like when the match starts, I'll be like, damn it, I should have chose the other way. It's fun. That's the thing about it. I'm not like, it's cool that we can do this. I like my picks. I do. I'm looking forward to the matches. It's kind of hard because I don't want to talk about the matches themselves, but I have a lot of different things in mind that are going to happen. I think are going to happen, and usually when that happens, it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? One way, I book the show the way I want to book it, and WWE obviously books it the way they do, and I don't necessarily think they're always right, but hell, I'm here, they're there, so you know what I mean? So, yeah.
I think that for me, doing all this hard work and stuff like that, it's going to pay off. Am I going to do another tournament down the line? That's debatable. Am I going to get another title belt? I probably will, but I probably will do it not for the show or anything. I think I'll do it just for myself, as just one of those things that's a collector's thing for me, for a memory thing. And then I'll probably send it to Rob and ask him to just figure a way to engrave the freaking huge ass sucker that I got and make it fun. But it's just, I wanted to do this because, like I said, there's people has their own belts for their own podcast, which is great, but there's nobody out there that can take the huge flag and take this belt to go to WrestleMania, for example, and say you're on somebody's podcast, like Dennis Farrell's Wrestling Perspectives podcast live at WrestleMania show, and you're there on camera with Dennis, or just so many different things. It's just, it makes things a lot more fun. And I hope and pray that whoever ends up holding this belt, once I sent it, because within about a week or two after Mania Night 2, that belt will be sent out with a couple other packages I have to send out. But hopefully we will have a champion for this community that desperately needs a title belt and desperately, in my opinion, needs somebody to say, I can face anybody and everybody and be held accountable for it, you know?
Yeah. Yep, for sure, man. And Drew has the right idea. Bribe Dennis to get the scoops.
I'm not gonna do that to
I know.
Dennis.
He's joking too, but yeah, and Drew's smart with what he's saying. He's like, you just have to hype yourself up, pretend you know shit when you're making these predictions, and just go with it.
Hell, look at me. I'm in the Love Wrestling March Madness thing, and I'm number 1 in that thing. And I don't watch college basketball for the life of me. I have Duke and Kansas in the final, and I have Kansas winning. I mean, I have no clue what I was doing, but I did it. That's happened a few times with March Madness. I ended up winning $500 one year in a March Madness pool just because I picked UConn, because I was like, well, you know, UConn's a local team and they'll go far and they'll win. And lo and behold, they won the whole championship that year. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, cool. You know, $500 in my pocket. Why not? You know,
Yep.
But I think it's going to be fun. The brackets are made to be a lot more fun. I mean, I think obviously you have the hardest bracket because, well, you guys asked for it. So, but I think the most fun one to watch besides yours is probably going to be, you know, the Fightful and Love Wrestling, obviously. But I think for me personally, just because I do stuff with them, I think the Body Slam bracket is going to be interesting because, you know, the franchise is also pulling double duty with their title. So it's going to be interesting if the champion can actually be a multi-champion on WrestleMania weekend. And I'm praying not, because I hope it's not. I love Bad Blood, but I'm hoping I don't have to ship it on the West Coast.
Well, shit. Just imagine if you have to send it to Bulgaria.
Yeah, I know. That's
be
an
worse.
expensive shipping.
Well, I mean, the thing is about shipping it to the West Coast, just do priority mail flat rate. You'll be fine.
So we'll end the show with this because we were talking about memories and the last couple of years, because I don't know. We're at the end of March and going into April, and we're literally about 8 or 9 shows away from the 2-year and stuff. And I don't, knowing your schedule and how crazy it can get, what is your favorite memory of the last 2 years of Wicked Crazy Pinfalls?
Honestly, I think it's that first show, the clusterfuck trying to get on. You remember? I mean, we just had all kinds of issues trying to get on, but that was fun. I think just having like the first time that we had Wild Boy and Cher Delaware on, all 4 of us, that was good. That's probably one of my favorite ones that I remember.
Yeah, the 2.5-hour show where everybody decided to pop in like crazy.
Yeah, that was fun. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's good times.
It's one of those things for me that I appreciate. I got nothing but love for you, my friend. I say that all the time, every time I get off the phone or I text you. And the same thing with Drew and everybody. I don't know what the future has in store. I know what's going on in my life. Especially what happened the last 24 hours. But I after everything that's happened with the car being stolen and stuff, I realize how blessed I am, and that's the best part about this. And mainly, this show is an outlet to vent everything out and talk about wrestling, talk about anything. You know, I'm basically, if I have to say this as a wrestling term, I am, and this is a compliment, and Rob, and just don't think it because you don't know anime as much. You are my Krillin to me being Goku. Like, if there isn't one without the other, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you should check a doctor out with that because it sounds bad.
It doesn't, because those two are really good friends in the anime. They're like really like brothers. All I gotta say is I want to put this over, and then I'll let you do the rest. Go out tomorrow, go see Coexisting on Fightful Overbook with Rob and Maggie. It's other than the other stuff Fightful does, Tim and Joel in the ring, stuff like that. For me, it's one of those shows on the Fightful Overbook that is a must watch every Friday, and it's the best way if you're having a rough day to decompress before you go home or you're driving or anything like that, and enjoy it with the people you love, because in that moment it makes it easier. But you could see some of the stuff Rob's done on the Wicked Crazy Television within the mix with Rob Wilkins. You could see some of the stuff on the past shows in the catalog in the back. Even that one big ass clusterfuck train that we did. So, but the rest of it, Rob, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, you could find me on Fightful. Otherwise, you can find me at Rob Wilkins on Twitter. Every Friday, I co-host a show called Coexisting with Rob and Maggie. You can follow my co-star Maggie at Maggie_IK. We have a fun show, 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock Eastern. We tell jokes, or I tell jokes, and we have a segment called The Cooper Effect, where we talk positive stories, not negative stories. It's just like good, wholesome story. It's like we talk about somebody in the wrestling community, and we talk about something outside of wrestling, like something that somebody did that was good, or something that's good that's just good in nature. We as a society talk too much about the negative stuff, and so we thought we would have a part where we talk about the positive stuff, the good stuff. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's good. It's a fun show. People like it. I do a segment, or I try to do like a Saturday night. It's not Saturday Night Live by any means, but I try to open the show with like a video. And I'm just going to say tomorrow's is going to be pretty good, I think. But I have a different sense of humor than a lot of people. But I think if you watch it, you'll enjoy it. Especially if you know what's going on with Sean Ross Sapp this weekend. That's all the hint I'll give you.
All I gotta say is I got nothing but love for you, my friend. I got anybody who's been on the show in the past, and people who have been, and who who are close to me, who know me, actually not as Throwback, but actually call me by my first name and actually talk to me and stuff like that. Like, I'm not even kidding you guys. Like, Rob will shoot me a text here and there. If I see something up the rim, I'll text him and we'll just sit there and having a conversation. Even if it's like a 10-minute conversation or even a 3-minute conversation, me and Rob know exactly what's going on, just from like even minor stuff we could figure out.
Yeah.
But there will be a huge announcement coming up with Wicked Crazy Pinfalls, mainly about my life, about what's going on with the show, going a little bit forward, just because of certain things for scheduling, I think. But at the end of the day, it's just about having fun and stuff. And even if I do a 10-minute show or an hour show or an hour and a half show, it's still worth it. So for me, you could check out bodyslam.net. Go over there, do a slam chat, help support the site. Same thing, go freaking do a super chat for Fightful on Fightful Overbook tomorrow for Coexisting with Maggie and Rob. Very good friends of Wicked Crazy Pinfalls and one of the co-creators and stuff like that. I always want to say, hey, look, it's the co-creator of this. And I realized, oh, crap, I shouldn't type that. That's not a good idea. And it's when you and Maggie are on. But you guys are family, regardless, and you know that. So that's all I need to say. Other than that, go check out the NXT post show for Body Slam's YouTube channel, and come back here every Thursday night, and just either Thursday night or Wednesday morning if we pop on, and just follow what's going on. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you need to talk to Rob about any mental or anything going on in your life, check out his handle. Same thing over here with mine. We're always around to talk, and it doesn't matter if I'm underneath a car burning my hand or Rob's literally doing an OnlyFans thing. Is that still going on? Like, is a running joke too?
Oh yeah, I still do an OnlyFans joke. Yeah. Hell, one day it might be real. Who knows? There's some weird people out there, man, and I don't kink shame. So if that's what they're into, that's what they're into. If I can make money off of it, I'll do it.
But just stay tuned, guys. We're getting closer to 2 years, and like I said, I pitched it. I hopefully one day it will happen. And if Cassidy, I know there are probably all of them are in Texas probably right now. If Sean, I know Cassidy might be able to help me with that. Spencer and, whoever else wants to help out. Try to, for the next year coming after May, let's try to make this a lot more fun. And because like Rob says, with his stuff he does at the end of his show, life's too short. Just have to stay positive and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Do a good deed. Go forward. Thank you, guys.
Peace.
Have a good night.